All right, you guys. So our next step in learning the scientific method is variables. So today we're going to be talking about our independent and dependent variables, and next week we will discuss control variables. So don't you guys worry about that. Can I get a Zoom thumbs up if you have heard about independent and dependent variables before? I see 1 Zoom thumbs up, 2, 3. Awesome job. So we all have a little bit of knowledge, but let's make sure we are all now experts in independent and dependent variables. So real quick, we are going to do a brainstorm time. So I want you guys to put anything you know about the scientific variables in the chat. This is just a brain dump. So anything you think you might know about it, drop it in the chat for us. All right, we have all scientific experiments have variables from Olivia. Great explanation. Marissa, variables are changing. That is a very accurate definition. You guys are getting the ball rolling in just the right direction. So now, like Marissa said, a variable is a factor within an experiment that varies or changes. And we have 2 types of variables for our scientific experiment that we're talking about this week, our independent and our dependent variables. Does one of you guys want to try to define what an independent or a dependent variable is?
The dependent variable depends on the independent variable.
Awesome job, Marissa. So now we're kind of interchanging our terminology, seeing the connections together. What about an independent variable? What do you guys think?
An independent variable is what I want to look at in my research.
Awesome job, you guys. Those are both correct. So we see an independent factor is a factor that you are going to be changing in the experiment. So you get to decide what happens to it. And the way we can remember that is what I change. They both have I's. And as Marissa said, the dependent variable is the factor that changes as you change the independent variable. And a way we can remember that term is what I measure depends on the independent variable. And we can see they both have depend in it. But that's kind of hard to see just these terms. So we're going to try an example to make sure we really understand what they do. So let's say we want to find the optimal amount of water for plant growth. Which one do you guys think our independent variable is, and which one do you think is the dependent variable?
Independent is plant growth.
We think our independent is our plant growth. We think that's what we change. What about, does anybody else want to weigh in on that? Oh yeah, the water. Yeah, like you said, you got them a little switch up, but that's okay. That's why we do these examples. So we can see the amount of water is our independent and the height of the plant is our dependent. And a way we can explain this to ourselves in more words in a sentence is the amount of water we give the plant will determine how high it's going to grow. So we see the height depends on the water, but the height of the plant isn't going to necessarily tell us how much water to put into it. So the independent doesn't really correlate, the dependent doesn't influence the independent variable, but the independent variable does influence the dependent. Do we all feel comfortable with that? Do we all see how they're connected? Can I see some thumbs ups? Awesome job. Don't forget, if you have any questions, you can always drop them in the chat or raise your hand. Let's really hone this in. What we are going to do is learn a song. And it goes to the beat of, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. So I'm going to do it first, and then I'll do the first one, and then we'll do it all together. So it goes, the independent is what I change. The independent is what I change. It changes the dependent in my experiment. Independent is what I change. So now that we have the first one together, we can all unmute ourselves and let's go through the whole song together. Are we ready to try it? All right, follow my lead. Let's go. The independent is what I change. The independent is what I change. It changes the dependent in my experiment. Independent is what I change. The dependent is what I measure. The dependent is what I measure. It depends
depends
on
on
independent. How much did it change? Dependent is my measurement.
measurement.
All right, you guys. Great.